I'm Elizabeth Henson. Welcome to the Messy Success Podcast, where I'm helping creative dreamers and overachievers tackle business and life. After 6 years of being my own boss, I finally unraveled a tiny bit of what it takes to survive in this amazing world of being an overly creative entrepreneur. I'm your business bestie, here to help you with all those big ideas and to normalize some of the day-to-day struggles that we all share. My mission is simple. I want more women to make a living doing what they love and to feel good about themselves in the process. The best way to start? We can't do it alone. So welcome. I hope you'll hang out with me here where it's totally okay to be messy. All right, you guys, welcome. I'm so excited about this episode. So I'm bringing on my business bestie, Angie McPherson. If you've been following along the Messy Success podcast for a while, you know that she was very quickly featured on episode 2, where I brought on some of my business besties. But what you might not know about Angie is that she is a total business branding, marketing pro. She was in the marketing industry before she actually turned into a wedding photographer, and then she has been starting to implement some of her marketing expertise into her photography business by focusing on being a brand photographer. So she helps other creative entrepreneurs, wedding pros. She's even worked with some corporate offices, create beautiful headshots and images for their brand, their social media presence. She is really becoming a powerhouse in this department. And I just love that I get to ride on the train with her because I'm so not a marketing pro. Last week's episode was kind of about my messy success philosophies behind branding and marketing and talking to your ideal client. And we're going to have this wonderful little happy hour chat with Angie where she's going to take her expert opinions and advice and kind of expand on some of my loosey-goosey, imperfect marketing. And it all works. And this is the coolest part, is that when I have this little sit down with her, there's nothing new that she's introducing that I've never heard before. But the way that she speaks about it, the authority that she brings, makes it so easy to understand. And even though Angie and I talk every single day, and we talk about business pretty much every single day, I still left this conversation with notes in my notebook that I had written as we were interviewing, and new ideas and a new motivation to sit down and work on some of these things. So if you are listening and you have the opportunity to jot down some notes or some quick takeaways, I definitely want to encourage you to do that, because this episode is so genuine and the way that we actually dig in and talk business, but it's also incredibly actionable. And she's going to leave you with 3 actionable tips that you can do today to help with your mindset around marketing. She's going to provide you with a checklist for marketing. She really just brings her A game in this episode, and I'm so excited to share it with you. So let me go ahead and bring on Angie. I hope you're ready. This is a good one. I love you, Angie. She is the facts and I am the feels. We are such an awesome duo. We have been doing this side by side for the last nearly 6 years. And I'm just so excited. All right, so let's bring on Angie. All right. Hey, Angie, welcome back. We had you here for episode 2, and now we're going to dig in and talk all things marketing, a lovely little marketing happy hour.
Yay.
I'm so glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
I know. Welcome back. We had so much fun last night, too, at the Creative Network dinner.
Oh my gosh, so fun.
Yes, we talked all things like rock star statements and taglines and power words. It was so nice to have you there.
Yes. Thanks for having me. I loved meeting with all the other entrepreneurs, whether they were new in the game or advanced. It was so cool to see where everybody is with their business.
Yes, we talked about that this morning, like all the different levels, like sitting down with people that are just starting out and then sitting down and brain dumping with people that have been in the game for a while. I just love all the business talk.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Favorite topics.
Oh my gosh. I know. Remember when we started talking about just starting a podcast in general? Because we have all these crazy business conversations and we're like, we should be recording this right now.
I know. And now I can like go back and listen to them, remember what I said and what you said.
Oh my gosh. Voxer's pretty close, but I really think other people could benefit from some of our conversations.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Like some of the stuff we say on Voxer, I'm like, man, I wish I could just like push this to an Instagram story or something.
No, right? Make a little virtual or voice journal. All right, so we're going to dive in. And last week's episode, I did just a very quick talked about my messy marketing. Like, you are the facts, I am the feels. So I'm so excited to share with you just how different we are in the way that we look at marketing. I mean, you're such a marketing pro. So I want you to tell us what your biggest takeaway was from the episode last week and how you can kind of expand on that as someone with all the marketing experience that you have.
Yeah, so I loved when you dove into finding your ideal client because anyone that learns from me or watches, any of my videos where it comes to, marketing and things like that or my emails, it's all about starting with that ideal client because if you don't know who you're talking to, you're just going to be talking to nobody. I think Marie Forleo says that. She says if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. So at any point in your business, whether you are new or you're, way advanced, but you're trying to reach a different market, having that ideal client in mind whenever you're putting out copy, whether it's your website or social media or in your email, talking to that ideal client that you really want to serve. And some people are like, oh, well, I don't want to just speak to one person because other people might not be interested. I kind of look at it as like a Venn diagram, like putting all of these qualities into like the middle, and you're still going to get the people kind of outside of the Venn diagram on the other sides of it that kind of relate to something that you're talking about, and they'll find you and still like you. So just finding your ideal client. So whether that person is someone who's, laid back or likes to travel or they frequent Target a lot or they binge Netflix and watch wine, like that's kind of my ideal client. So I just make sure that I'm always talking to that person. So like I said, my emails and my website copy, social media, I am talking to that person so that they feel that the message is specifically for them. And so they're easier and more apt to engage with me.
Yes, and I love that analogy about the Venn diagram because, we've been doing this a little bit longer now and we're starting to see these results. And I remember people always saying, you need to be more specific, you need to niche down, you need to have an ideal client. And it feels so overwhelming in the
Mhm.
beginning. But now that I'm seeing that the people that I'm attracting always have at least one of those characteristics. So
Right.
not everybody's going to have all of them, but you're going to attract somebody that's going to identify with something and you're going to repel the total opposite that's what you don't want.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Attract and repel. I love that because I talk about kind of the same things over and over as far as like my love for TV, my love for like music and entertainment and things like that. And there are some people who comment on certain things and not the others because I know like they might not be my exact ideal client, but they love some TV or they love, traveling. And so they'll jump in the conversation and they might not be my ideal client. They might be my ideal client, but they're going to attract other people who will eventually see me. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm staying with like who I want to target just so, she might see, me in the explore page on Instagram or somebody might share something I posted on Facebook and she'll see that and be like, I like that conversation. Let me see where that's going.
Yes, totally. So when I was talking about this in the form of my three pillars, I really just talked about doing more of what you love and try to do less of what you don't and kind of tied it into that brand voice, which is what we're talking about, honing in on your ideal client. But tell us a little bit about how talking to your ideal client is also attracting more of what you love kind of as a person, or how just doing things that we really love to do can bring more to us. I'm like a little woo woo, so I love hearing your feedback.
Yeah, I'm a little wooed too. I think we're in that together. And yeah, just like putting, as far as like your social media presence or your website, putting what you want to attract out there. So you might not be your ideal client, but you might want a specific type of client. So for example, I know when it comes to ideal clients, the way that I found mine is I kind of average the favorite people that I've served, and I kind of look at who I want to serve. So that person is a wine drinker. I personally don't drink wine, but I will ask questions about it and get that conversation started. So even though I'm not going to be talking every Friday about drinking wine tonight, blah blah blah, if I'm going to an event and I'm saying I want to try a new wine, does anybody have any ideas? The people come out of the woodwork. It's like all these wine drinkers that I don't really have anything else to talk to them about. They're like, oh, you should try this, you should try that. So just kind of putting things out there that will attract the people that you want to attract. And so for me also with TV and entertainment, I love to talk about those things naturally. So it's not out of the norm for me to post something about it on Instagram. And so for people to be able to engage in that conversation is awesome. And same with, your emails when you're talking to potential clients, instead of just sending them, here are my prices, et cetera, really looking into what they've sent you, asking them questions that make them, think about things. For example, if you're a photographer, for example, and your client or potential client just sends you an email saying, hi, I'd love to know your prices. You kind of want to weed the people out because you want to make sure you're speaking to your ideal client. So asking them questions that pertain to their wedding. So you're asking them, what are you envisioning for your wedding? Are you really specific on details? Like if you're a very laid back wedding photographer and you don't want someone who is like crazy about, the specifics, details and things like that, just kind of putting that wording in there. And kind of opposite, if you're a very classic photographer and you don't want someone who's super laid back and is just going to show up, finding that conversation to talk about those things so that you can make sure that you two are on the same page.
Yes, I never even really thought about that with the emails because I am so laid back in the way that I work with my clients. And I definitely project that in my emails. Whereas I could totally see the photographer next door being super, super structured, just how
Right.
some photographers are very much in control over the timeline, but I'm necessarily not that. So we're wanting to be sure that we're attracting the people that will thrive with that type of atmosphere that we offer. That's such a good point.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh. And the thing you said about starting conversations, you are so good at this online. It just starting conversations. And I feel like people are like, oh my gosh, Angie is killing it because your social media presence is just so genuine and so engaging. And I know that that's something that you've kind of been honing in on those skills over like the last year or two. And the thing you were saying about the wine is so true because you don't drink
Right.
wine, but all of your friends do. So you can
Yeah.
totally hang in that circle.
Yeah, you're right. And it's just like, I look at my social media from a year or two ago and it's like, hey, this wedding was great. This couple was beautiful, or this session was so nice. And that was it. Like that was my grid. Wedding, couple, 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 session, session, session. And now, yesterday I posted, what's your least favorite chore? And today I posted, what are the 3 things you're thankful for? Just starting these conversations, because when people get on social media, they're just used to just scrolling, double tapping, or saying, hey, great picture. But if you're that one that pops out that asks that person a question they actually care about, they're going to engage with you.
Oh my gosh, that is gold right there. And it totally aligns with what I constantly say, that everybody wants to be seen and wants to be heard. So
Exactly.
when your Instagram is a place that they can go and be seen and be heard and throw their opinions out, people love that.
Exactly. People love to share opinions. They love to see who else has the same opinion. Like the one I put yesterday, I said, my least favorite chore is laundry because it never ends. And I got so many comments, and everyone's like, laundry, dishes. And they're commenting on each other. It's like, oh, I hate, mowing the lawn too. And it's just like, I love not only creating conversations with me and my potential clients, but having those people converse with each other, because then you're creating a community.
Yes. And you know what's so cool is that this is literally leading us right into the other pillar that I talked about, which was networking and building relationships. So just by talking in our brand voice, which was like pillar number 3,
Right.
we are actually building relationships, which is pillar number 2.
Yes. Yes. Moving right along. Love
And
it.
it's crazy because it really is like this all kind of this marketing package, and everything runs together, which is one of those reasons that marketing is kind of like a hard thing to just teach, just marketing, because it's so much.
I know. I know.
Oh
And
my
it's different for everyone, every industry, every person. So it's like we have to give out these tips and tell people you got to apply this to your own business. You can't just be like the person next to you.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, I know that you and I are very similar when it comes to networking, community building, having relationships to grow your business. Tell us a little bit about like your end of that and how you feel about all of that.
Yeah. So in the online sector, people say, oh, nobody's engaging with my Instagram, nobody's following me. And I'm like, well, are you doing that to other people? Like, you have to give to receive. It's very, we're not a Kim Kardashian or, a huge celebrity where we post something and everybody just wants to comment. Like, we have to go out there and talk to our ideal client, talk to our peers. And so, I'll take some time out of the day, maybe 15 to 30 minutes, and sit on Instagram, and I might search a hashtag, I might search a geotag of my ideal client, people I want to work with, and just show them some love, comment on some, recent pictures, even DM one of their stories, like going out and finding people instead of just waiting for people to find you. I've created, cultivated so many friendships that way. And just looking at people, you might have a business bestie and kind of going to, people that they engage with, because you already have that mutual friend. So if you have, if you're in the wedding industry and you're a photographer and you love working with a makeup artist, like going on their page and commenting that their clients look amazing and their trial session was awesome, and then going to that client's page. I love going to bridal salons, like wedding dress shop Instagrams, because they always post so and so said yes to the dress. I'm like, well, I'm going to hit up so and so and tell her that I'm excited for her. So just going out and finding those people. And even, if you are a local business, going to local business Instagram accounts, whether it be a hair salon or just a clothing boutique, kind of depending on what you do, and commenting and engaging there and building those relationships there.
Oh my gosh, yes. One of my favorite tips that you ever gave me when it comes to this and engaging with other people was to watch who's watching our stories and then
Yes.
to make sure that we're loving up on them because, one of my missions and all of this is just that some of the people that feel invisible or feel unseen get a little bit of encouragement so that I can go and see who actually is watching me and knows who I am and paying attention to my stories, and I can actually go visit their page and just give them a compliment or say, hey, I see you, friend. I see you.
Exactly. And even the people who participate in what you do in your story. So if you put a poll, if you ask questions, giving those people love too, because it takes 2 seconds to swipe to the next story. But when somebody answers your poll, like, you got to strike while the iron's hot. You got to show them some love.
Yes. And it's like, it's not just to make a sale, but it's to build that relationship.
Right.
And they may not need what we're offering, but everybody knows somebody. So they may
Exactly.
know someone, or, we're just top of mind for them, or that relationship can be built for down the road. I mean, and plus, I just feel like if someone's going to take the time to pay attention to what I'm doing, like I want them to know that I appreciate that.
Exactly. Yeah. We have to really, like, show gratitude in business. Like, that's a big part of marketing too, is being thankful for the people who, book from you, the people who engage with you, the people who, talk about you, just really showing gratitude to those people.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you're so good at that. You're like, I set aside a few minutes every day. Like you're so structured, which is where we're so different. But I love it. Oh my gosh. And I love what you said too about the celebrities because I think sometimes people get a little bit confused with social media and what our growth is supposed to look like or be like, and we're all just normal people.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's always a human on the other side.
Exactly. You're so right.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about showing up because, oh my goodness, I know that there are very few people in the world that show up in the capacity that we do. And you actually, I think, outdo me on a regular basis. And I think that a lot of that is because of your structure
Mhm.
and all your checklists and your systems that you have in place, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But talk to us a little bit about showing up and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so my biggest tip for showing up is just being consistent. Whether you know that you can only post 3 times a week, 5 times a week, or every day, be consistent because people recognize patterns. So if you post a great wedding or a great, I keep saying weddings, but this is for any type of portfolio work. If you post something on Monday and people don't hear from you until next Saturday, it's just like, why are they going to come back and engage with you? So showing up, being consistent, and like serving your, your clients and your audience well, just making sure in your heart how often you can show up, and then following through, and then setting time Again, however often you can. For me, it's every day, 15 to 30 minutes a day, or that last minute scroll before I hit the bed. Just, engaging with people and letting them know you're there and that you're seeing what they're doing. And then, a big tip for me with scheduling content and showing up consistently is Planoly or any type of scheduler. On Sunday nights, I'll kind of look at what I have coming up during the week, whether that be a session or a blog post or just a couple of topics that I want to talk about. I will schedule those photos, write in a couple notes in the caption so I have no excuse on Monday morning when that timer comes up and says, hey, you have a post on Instagram Monday at 8 a.m. I'm going to show up because I have told myself this is my week. This is how I'm going to do it. If you just kind of, fly by the seat of your pants all the time, it's a challenge to do this every week. You have to, condition yourself to do this. But if you're just like, oh, well, I'll just see what's going to come up and, that day's going to pass and the next day's going to pass and then you haven't shown up and nobody cares about you anymore. So my tips are just to give yourself, a schedule, whether, like I said, once a week, 5 times a week, and be consistent with it.
Yes, absolutely. And something that I think I forgot to mention in the last episode is that showing up is part of building trust, right? Like for our audience, like they
Right.
learn to trust that we are going to show up and give whatever content it is that we're giving.
Right. And another thing about showing up, I mean, showing up could be a phrase for all types of things. So with me, I was just talking about kind of the timing, but showing up in your messaging is epic as well. I mean, the way that you speak in your post and your website copy and emails, making sure that message is consistent. So we could talk about this later in my bigger tips, but having like your brand words and posting those just so people know your voice. People, and even in your work, making sure that your imagery in Instagram is consistent. If you're a photographer, that's easy because you have a certain style. But if you're not, if you're a web designer or a hairstylist or whatever, making sure your images are consistent with, the color and the look and also like what you're posting. So, having a good variety of things that you're doing. It could be places you're at or food you're eating or people you're hanging out with, making sure that you are consistent and not, one day you're just posting the most random thing that's going to totally repel people who have been loving your social media presence for weeks.
Yes. And I know you geek out over this stuff. So tell us a little bit. The biggest excuse that I hear about the showing up part, especially when it comes to social media, is I don't have anything to post. Nothing's going on. Nobody wants to hear from me. I didn't have any sessions this month. If I'm a photographer,
Mhm.
I haven't built any websites. Nobody's shared their before and afters with me. So, how would you combat or steer someone in the right direction that has some of those beliefs?
So, great question. Great question. So, when it comes to me not having sessions in a while, I have to throw in old sessions or, talk about my family or talk about my travel. So, for example, January to March is pretty quiet on the wedding side and probably on the shooting side altogether. So I'll make sure I have, like a wedding Wednesday. So every Wednesday I'm posting weddings just so I can make sure that I'm being seen as a wedding photographer for potential clients. And depending on the season as well. So January through March, it's cold outside, and I'm talking about coffee and hot chocolate and winter activities. So just making sure look at your portfolio for that time frame, look at the season for that time frame, what you're doing in life, and just putting it out there. Like I said, having those 5 to 10 posts that you can throw up there for the month or for the week and making sure you're talking about them. So when people tell me all the time I have nothing to post, I'm like, you do have something to post. If you had something to post in busy season, you have something to post in the off season because you still have portfolio work. You still are a human being with a life and a lifestyle. So just kind of talk about what life is like right now.
Yes. And if anyone listening is struggling with that what to post mentality, I'm just going to encourage you to reach out to Angie personally because she is so good at this. And I also want you to dig in just a little bit more into the structure of how you go into Planoly every Sunday night and you add your pictures and you work on the captions because I feel like we went through that really quickly. And that is where I fall short. I know I'm not alone, that a lot of, my messy success type B people, I will dump a bunch of pictures in Planoly so that I always have pictures. But what I'm finding that I struggle with is if I've had a really mentally exhausting day, I don't
Mhm.
have the energy to come up with that really good caption.
Right, right. Okay, yeah. So I'll walk you through maybe like next week. So I know that I have a wedding this Saturday. And that's about it on the shooting side. So on Sunday, well, first of all, let me preface this by when you're kind of defining your personal brand, give yourself some categories or buckets that you pull from that resonate with your brand. So for me, it's, weddings, branding clients, my family. So that could be, my husband, my son, and then me. Of course, I want to make sure I'm showing up in my feed every week. And then like my love for TV or entertainment. So I know that I need to fit all of those into a 7-day weekly schedule. So next Sunday night, I will pull an image from the wedding I shot on Saturday because I know that needs to be scheduled for Wednesday for the blog post. I will pull a headshot of me probably to post on Friday for Friday introductions. I will post a branding client and maybe think of, some tips I could get for having your branding photos taken or showing up on social media. TV is really good this week, so I'll probably pull a picture to talk about what shows I'm watching. So I'm trying to hit all my buckets, and I can easily just kind of outline that on Sunday night because I know the 5 buckets that I want to hit for that week, and I'll schedule the photos, and then I'll just go in and say, okay, I know Friday introductions, I want to talk about 3 random facts about me. I know that This Is Us coming back, so I want to talk about my love for the storyline. I know that I have a wedding that I want to blog, so I'm going to, pull out the key points from the wedding as far as the colors and the vendors and things like that. And I'll throw those all in there. So Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. when, that automated notification is telling me I have a post, I have something to post that day.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And it's like, I know all of this stuff, but I'm like, my notebook is open right now because I'm like, oh man, I really do need to refine my buckets a little bit and get more clear because I'm so messy with my Instagram. And I know that it's kind of like fallen off in the last couple of weeks. So this is such a good refresher for me.
And Planoly has the placeholder option, so you could literally go through, like, I'm not going to do this until Sunday, but right now, if I want to just put some placeholders, you can click like this little white placeholder and type text into it. So I can schedule Monday through Sunday. So I'll do Monday, it's going to be a quote. Tuesday, it's going to be a branding tip. Wednesday, it's going to be a wedding. Thursday, it's going to be TV talk. Friday, it's going to be introduction. Saturday, it's going to be what I'm doing that weekend. And Sunday, it's going to be rest and relaxation. And that's it. And I'm just going to put those placeholders. So when I'm ready on Sunday night, I'm just swapping everything in for actual photos.
Oh my gosh. And that you never run out of ideas that way.
Yeah, I just planned my next week of social media. Thanks.
I know. And that's done. Check. Oh my gosh. So good. Okay. Well, if you guys have never heard of Planoly, I will totally link that in the show notes as well. It's an amazing tool. I use it not as well as Angie does, but I definitely use it just to get my images from point A to point B. And that really helps. So it's definitely a good tool for you. All right. So I know we really got in a little deeper there than I thought we would. That was so good.
Yay.
All right. So I know you're going to be sharing some tips with us today. So I'm just going to let you have the floor to dive into some of your favorite marketing tips.
Okay, so great. Here are my 3 actionable tips for listeners to take away. So we've kind of talked about majority of these, but I'll go kind of into detail. So one is creating that powerful personal brand. So if you don't have this already, take a sheet of paper and write down these key things like who you are as, a business owner and as a person, what you do exactly, why you do it, who you do it for, and then most of all, your unique value proposition. So what makes your experience different from the person next to you, from the photographer next to you, from the web designer, from the hair and makeup artist? What makes you different? So just my action tip for this would be, like I said, to take a sheet of paper, write this as a story. I'm Angie McPherson, XYZ. And you also call this, Liz, like your rock star statement. And so, as far as weddings, mine is I'm Angie McPherson. I'm a fun-loving wedding photographer for couples who laugh loudly and love deeply. And then you can go look at some brand words. So cheerful, encouraging, helpful, wild, entertaining, fun, writing down these brand words that really describe you as a person. And just taking this story and these brand words and just inserting it into all of your content. So your social media posts, your website, your email. So whenever I'm posting images of clients, I know that I want to attract fun, easygoing, laughing clients. So I use imagery that reflects that. I use words that describe these clients. So my brand is in every single post and every content that I put out there. So that is creating powerful personal brand. And then number two, I would say identify, we talked about this, identify and reach out to our ideal client. So we talked about this in detail. So give that client a story, give her a name. Every time you post content, speak to her directly, not say her name, but just act like you're speaking directly to her. Because when you are so confident in, what you're saying, she's going to feel like you're speaking directly to her. So what are her personality, traits? What are her pain points? How do you solve those pain points? More specifically, who is she following on social media as far as brands, as far as local businesses? How can you show up on those accounts to be seen by this person? So my action tip for that section is just to go find that client. Like I said, hashtags, geotags, see where she's interested, see if you have any mutual vendor friends or colleagues that she's interested. Don't go and find your competitors' actual clients. I'm just saying people that are in different kind of industries than you. So if you're in the wedding industry, people who are in different niches. So if you're a photographer, go to your bridal salons or makeup artists or florist and see if you can kind of show those clients love, show that vendor love. And then number three is, we talked about this too, creating consistent content to attract that ideal client. So put out there, once again, put out there what you want to attract. And what's that quote from that movie? It's like, if you build it, they will come. I think it's from a baseball movie. So it's
Yeah.
just like, if you build this profile that says, not literally, I want this person, but that shows that these are the type of clients that you serve and that you love to serve, those types of people will be attracted to you. So highlight, the amazing things about your business that will attract them. So what experience, what part of your experience will really attract them. So for me, my couples always tell me, oh my gosh, my fiance is going to be so awkward, he doesn't like taking photos, et cetera, et cetera. So I make sure that if I have a really good photo of a guy just having the best time, I'm like, oh, my grooms are just the best. They always get so comfortable after the first few minutes, and then they love what we do. So I'm showing a future client, hey, your groom, even like my husband does not like to take pictures, I show them like, hey, they'll be fine after the first couple minutes. And so they just feel that confidence because they've probably had that pain point at night, like, oh my gosh, my husband or my fiance is not going to want to take photos, and you've already solved that problem for them. Um, let's see, if you're, a website designer, for example, your potential clients probably stressing about where to begin. They have no idea where to begin. And so they go to your website, and you've got a checklist on the 5 things they need for their website. You've got tips for, branding colors and fonts and things like that. So you're already putting yourself above your potential competitor who's just like, oh, we just launched so and so's website. We just launched so and so's logo. Well, what's so special about that experience that's going to bring that potential client in? And so it's not we talked about celebrities. It's not about having the most followers. It's not about this huge, popularity contest. You just have to think, I'm like, I don't like to say I'm the best photographer. I say I'm the best photographer for you, for this ideal client. So when you show up that way and you're confident that you're the best photographer for that ideal client, it'll just come across so strongly. So instead of just selling like what you do, I take photos, I design websites, I do hair and makeup, showcase the experience, throughout all of your social media, and just be valuable and be incomparable to the person next to you.
Yes, like last night we talked about those memorable action words that people
Yeah,
can identify with. Those are awesome tips, and I love that everything is just full circle and connected. Like none of this was necessarily new information to the conversation, but
right.
it's breaking it down into those 3 actionable things.
Exactly.
So, and another thing that we come across a lot is the newbies that find this whole process overwhelming. So, the
Right.
whole idea of a brand or a brand voice or an ideal client is completely overwhelming for them. So, I know that one way we try to steer them is everybody has a favorite client. Even when they're just starting out, they fall in
Hmm.
love with what they do for a reason. And
Right.
they have that favorite experience or that favorite client that brought out those happy feelings. So I always tell a newbie to describe your favorite client and let's start there. Would you say that that's a good place to start if you're feeling overwhelmed with all of this?
Absolutely. That's what I did in the beginning. I had, my first year, I had these clients that were amazing, and I knew that I wanted to continue working with them. So I made, a combination of them my ideal client. Like some of my ideal clients, the couples were so, in love and touchy-feely with each other, and some were not. So I said, okay, my ideal client, they're going to be touchy and feely. And then some clients, they just love talking about, travel and adventure and doing fun things. So I said, okay, that's going to be a part of my ideal client. I've even surveyed at kind of like in the middle of my career so far. So in the beginning, I definitely found those specific people and said I wanted to serve them. But kind of in the middle of my career, I even surveyed them literally. I have a Facebook group with my brides in there, and I said, hey, you guys, I just love you guys so much. And I want to make sure that I continue to attract people like you so I can build my business on how awesome you guys are. Can you guys answer these 10 questions? And I put, where do you shop? Who's your celebrity crush? If you could live on a deserted island or, tropical island, where would it be? And I was surprised at how many answers really paralleled with each other. A lot of them shopped at Target, TJ Maxx. So I know that my bride is not that high end, fashion week type of client. And a lot of the shows were the same, and a lot of the celebrity crushes were Channing Tatum. So now I talk about Channing Tatum every now and then. So it's just like finding those minded aspects of your top, favorable clients.
Oh my gosh, that is gold. Gold. Okay. I'm like, oh, my mind is blown. So I'm like, I need to start asking my people what it is.
Yes,
When you said Channing Tatum, I'm like, gosh, like people don't think that it's that every day, but it is. It's like, these are everyday people with everyday interests, and
exactly.
we just have to find ways to relate to them.
Exactly.
And
Hmm.
yeah. And sometimes I think, forcing yourself to talk to one person, like we said, even though I have brides that get married on the beach and in the forest,
Right.
if I had to choose beach or forest, I would go forest. So, like,
Right.
if that's who I start talking to, that's who I'll get more of. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to shoot beach weddings here and
Exactly.
there, or
Exactly.
I'm not going to repel those, but it just gets so much easier, like you said, to talk to someone when you know that they're going to be the best match for you and vice versa.
Exactly. Especially for you, your potential client might, you want the forest, your client might want to get married on the beach, but when they see you talking about heirlooms, they're like, oh, I've got to have this girl. Like, because I love heirlooms. Even though they're getting married on a different stage, they're still like the Venn diagram. They still relate to something else that you've said.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm like, I got to get my beach fix in there, but we've also
Yeah.
got, like, I know that the way that I shoot and the light that I like, I'm like, give me those tall trees.
Right. Right.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I feel like we could talk about this all day.
I know. We do really, between you and I.
I know. We actually do. Oh my gosh. Okay. So those were some awesome tips. And you have a marketing checklist that you use in your business. This is, again, where we're so different, because I'm like, la la la. And you're like literally checking boxes as you go. So tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about the different checklists that you use every day within your own business.
So I have a marketing checklist, which is daily, weekly, monthly, and annually. So I'll just give a couple examples. So on a daily checklist, I'm in Instagram 15 to 30 minutes. I'm showing up. I'm engaging with people. I'm responding to every single comment, every single DM. I'm not a celebrity. I have plenty of time to talk to people who talk to me. And then weekly, like I said, I'm making my social media calendar or my blog calendar. So on Sunday night, I'm looking at what I have for the week and scheduling it there. Monthly, I am making new connections, reaching out to new people, whether it be on email, through social media. I'm just really trying to cultivate new relationships. I might even be looking at stats to see, which Instagram post from the last month were good. So if you use Planly, they have really good insights. And so every month at the end, I'll go through and look, through August 1 through August whatever, and see which post did the best. It's usually photos of me, and then a close second is a quote, and then actually clients. So sometimes I think, oh man, my wedding's killed it this month. I'm like, wow, people actually care about, the inspirational quotes or what I was doing with my family that weekend. So it's good to see what works and what doesn't. And then, so that was monthly. And then annually, it's going through a marketing plan. So I know, I want to show up in this way every quarter. I want to take fresh branding images every quarter. I want to have these major topics talked about throughout the year. So going through my annual marketing plan and seeing how I want to show up.
Yes, I love it. Something I want to focus on next year is always knowing exactly what I'm implementing and what I'm promoting
Right.
and what I'm planning,
Right.
so that there's not all this weird overlap and strange offering times, but it's like, okay, this quarter I'm planning XYZ, I'm promoting this one, and then I'm executing this thing.
Exactly. I love
So,
that.
oh my gosh, let's hope, right? And so your marketing checklist, you've actually shared these, right? Like you have a freebie for us?
Yeah, it's in my opt-in on my Instagram bio, and I've sent it to my email list, and I can definitely send you the link if you want to put it in the show notes for your people.
Yes, we'll definitely put that in the show notes, and tell everybody your Instagram handle.
My Instagram is Angie Janine, AngieJanine, Angie Janine.
Okay, and we'll definitely put that in the show notes as well. But you guys have to go check out Angie on Instagram if you haven't yet, because like I said, because she's my business BFF, everybody loves to come tell me how she is just crushing it.
Oh
Oh my
wow!
gosh.
Well, thank you for
Oh,
sharing that with me. That just made my day.
it makes my day because we started together and I just love seeing all this growth. And that's just your thing. And another thing, really quick, before we start closing out, is that this has been the year where you've really grown your branding photography side of things. So tell
Yes.
everyone why they need branding photography experience. That was a really weird way to word that, but you know what I mean.
Yes, it's just I have seen such a shift in my business as far as how people perceive me and get to know my brand by telling my own story and not just letting my images of my work tell my story. So having photos of me, just regular headshots, and then of me working, of me, walking and talking and having a good time, and just having those types of images help me to create a story in my post about me. It's so hard to have just a feed of your clients and be able to talk about yourself. But if you have, your clients and then maybe a flat lay of your tools of your trade, so your laptop, your phone, your desk, a photo of your headshot, a photo of, you working at a coffee shop, it just really tells a story of who you are as a business owner. And that's going to put you just totally up leveled compared to your competition who just has photos of their clients.
Yes. And like you mentioned, what Channing Tatum keeps coming back to me.
Oh, he
But
always comes back to me.
right. Oh, this is where I was going with this. The stats, you've done the research on the back end that these branding photos actually do better than pictures of our clients.
Absolutely. Every month I do my insights in Planoly, and every month my top 5 photos are of me or of, my hands on the computer or just something where I am involved. They do like at large the best over client photos. And yes, people love, client photos because they like to see your work, but everyone else is doing that. So it's time to add something new, add something fresh and personal into your feed.
Yes. Or like even pictures of things, but things that are really explaining who you are or
Exactly.
what you love. Yes.
Exactly. People love, office photos. And, I did a post about my smoothie prep, and it was just like a picture of strawberries and bananas coming out of a mason jar. And it just like blew up. Like I wasn't even in the photo, but it was very personal. And people were like, oh my gosh, I love smoothies. Oh, this is a great way to prep and blah, blah, blah. So you're creating that conversation and you're creating it, based on your lifestyle.
Yes. Okay. So everyone out there, you need branding photos,
Do it.
lifestyle photos so that you can really start working on all those different content buckets that we talked about.
Yes, yes, yes. Choose your content buckets, get some imagery for each bucket, and then just start talking about them in the way that you talk and create conversations.
Oh my gosh, I love it. You're so good at this. Like, I'm like, we talk about it every day, but just digging in a little bit differently for all my peoples.
Yeah.
My wheels are turning. All right, cool. Well, we will put everything in the show notes, your freebie, your Instagram handle. Is there anything else that I missed? Anything else that I want to add? Anything fun you have coming up that you want to share?
I'm probably going to be doing some Instagram lives week by week. I'm trying to challenge myself to show up more for my branding clients, and doing some more of that. So if you want to stay tuned on Instagram, I will see you live.
All right, sounds awesome. All right, girl. Well, thanks again for being here. I'm really excited.
Thank you, love.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right, bye bye.
All right, you guys, that concludes this amazing episode with Angie. So good, right? I hope you're leaving with some seriously actionable notes in that notebook. Or if you're in the car, you're doing some brainstorming. Don't forget to go check out the show notes at elizabethhensonphotos.com/14. Or to work with Angie, you can head over to her website at mcphersonphotos.com/education. She spells it McPherson, photos.com/education. Or you can grab her marketing checklist at mcphersonphotos.com/marketing-checklist. Again, all of this is in the show notes if you are on the go. I'm so glad that we were able to bring Angie on today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please come visit us in the Messy Squad. Let us know your feedback. Go give Angie some love, and I will see you next week.